Hi, Chief here from Titan, and I am delighted to say that the writer-creator of the fantastically good Huge Detective is with us here today, Mr. Adam Rose. How are you, sir?
Pleasure being here.
Good. For those who don't know about this book, let's just give them a quick little pitch, a bit of brief about what they can expect.
Sure, it is, we have a world, it's a fantasy noir, is my best quick version, but it's giants the size of skyscrapers that are involved with a murder involving humans. And this one witness thinks, or perhaps main suspect is wondering, or will only talk to one of the giants to reveal who's behind all these murders. So it's kind of it's a buddy cop as well, but just two different worlds. It's the skyscraper level, the scale alone, like the Magenta, the artist brings to it, as far as our detective giant with Detective Tamaki, just the human and huge elements are the best way to kind of frame it, I guess. Just awesome size versus minuscule.
Kind of Tango and Cash, buddy cop.
Yes, that's right.
You are or were an English teacher.
Yeah.
How does that translate into writing a comic book series? Is that a good benchmark for creative writing, or?
That's interesting. I think yes. I've been a voracious reader of comics and fiction of all kinds for years, and Roald Dahl definitely was a huge influence on me. Not that I've maybe taught a little like stories, some of his short stories, but the BFG and things like that, big influence. And I think definitely some people say, well, what about Attack on Titan? And I'm like, I'm sure that I could see why that's referenced. But as far as like the teaching, creative writing wise, I'm always like thinking of things for students to work on, and just in my own writing, just different ways to kind of approach characters and the way they, interact with each other. And this in particular started as a story I was just telling my daughter. And I do these kind of I riff on these bedtime stories at night. And my version with her was very sweet, and she was like 9 at the time. And then I left her room, and I just had this darker, like true detective kind of style version of it. And that's where I just started writing this.
Okay, well, that's a good segue, because I was going to say, how did this idea for this story come about? But it came about from a very innocent bedtime child story into something which, as you say, is a bit more meaty, a bit darker.
And I think I just turned up the volume on that darkness and it was kind of perfect timing with these characters are a metaphor for how I see a lot of just different relationships in the world right now, just different groups of people just having their challenges to interact with one another. So because the Huge, we have a quick backstory to them in the beginning. There was a war with them 30 plus years ago. We gave them Australia, so I'm sorry to Australia, because I have had a few comments. I think I had a character use the word Aussie in this, and somebody from Australia was offended by that. But I feel like if you're not from Australia, you might say Aussie. So anyways, so the Huge are they're kind of sequestered to the continent of Australia. And then, 30 years later, this first one is allowed to interact with humans again. And there's a lot of trauma. And I feel like, as a world, here I am in London, but just between COVID and everything else going on in the world since then, politically, just current events-wise, you name it, without getting political, there's a lot of trauma to the relationships people have with each other.
Yeah. And the art's very evocative, it's very, captivating. Magenta King, who does the art, was that a stylistic choice that you wanted for the book, or how did that come about?
That was
the project.
Yeah, I was I found a unicorn with Magenta. I was familiar with him with the Dark Horse comic Jenny Zero.
Okay, yeah.
And that involves kaiju and the scope and scale. And I also was just at that time, this is 5 years ago, really getting into reading manga as well. And Magenta, he's Brazilian, is influenced quite a bit by different styles of manga. And I saw that in there, and I just saw what he did with the scale between humans and kaiju in Jenny Zero. So just on a lark, I reached out to him and pitched him. And he was interested right away, and we just started meeting via Zoom on a weekly basis. And we just really hit it off, and to the point where he even came to the States last fall and stayed with me, him and his wife, and We just had some more just kind of brainstorms as the issues were getting drawn. So it was, I wrote the whole story, but what he brought to it, like the world building, page to page, panel to panel, couldn't have done it without him.
Yeah, so it was a collaborative process.
Yeah, absolutely.
Even though the story gestated from yourself, and this is what we ended up with. Fantastic. Who would you say were your influences when you began this writing, as an example?
I'd say a combination of like pulpy noir, like Raymond Chandler, but then getting into like more modern stuff like the True Detective series.
Okay.
And then things like older movies such as Enemy Mine, which
Randy Quaid and
yes, very good.
Okay, yeah. Great movie.
For our younger audience, that involved an alien and human like galactic battle of some sort between these two races, and these two like hate each other to the core, end up crash landing on this barren planet, and they start trying to kill each other, but then they have to get along. And that's kind of what I have here. Like Tamaki is someone who has been devastated by what the Huge did to her family in the past, and having to work with one now is like taking every fiber of her being to control herself. But as the story unfolds, I hope we see that their relationship and she, things are being healed between them. Yeah.
I think that's what I got from it as well. Like you were saying, this initial tandem who are born out of anger and hatred towards each other, you dig below the surface, you get to know someone that's maybe got an opposing view from you, and you can actually find this common ground, and they even form a really powerful friendship.
Yes.
By the end of it, which is a really cool thing.
No, I think something I wanted to really convey here was the idea of their relationship, and even like the relationships of like Mrs. Stubbs and her son, and how he's like kind of Manny, who's feels misplaced in the world. Like his relation, it's not just his relationship with his mother, which is quite warped, but it's also his relationship with the world, and just recognizing different differences people have mentally. And Manny's definitely one that he's struggling with different. I have it kind of not so subtly referenced that he's schizophrenic, and he's having to like be both understood by his own people, but he feels more understood by these people that he doesn't even know, the Huge. And I don't know, I wanted there to be a sense of, I don't know, how people have to let their guard down to really see each other.
Yeah.
Like I'm seeing you now.
Good stuff. Well, listen, thank you so much for popping in to see us. We've got some fantastic art cards here,
nice.
Which Adam is going to sign. Stay in touch with our socials, and we'll let you know where you can possibly get hold of those. All the issues are out now for sale. Collected editions coming out as well, so plenty of opportunities to get involved with The Huge Detective, and it's a fantastic book. So thanks a lot, Adam, for joining us.
Thank you. Pleasure.